And we're live.
Sunday night chat with the
Sunday night
Cummings.
chat. Yeah.
We did that last week.
I think we did a talk a few nights ago talking about Valerie.
Okay.
Which, by the way, unfriended us. And
yeah, after she said that.
But she had to apologize that she messed up. I mean, you don't go talking bad about one person to the other.
Especially if they're a married couple. Because if they come back together.
Yeah, pretty much get screwed up.
Chances aren't that great.
I mean, I give people opportunities and chances, but if, I feel that you've lost my trust, that's it. It's done. I can never really trust you again.
And with Valerie, it's one of those things where...
It's always been like that.
It's been kind of in the back burner.
Yeah, I've never really trusted. I do have a major trust issue with people, because I've seen people say one thing in your face and then they say another thing behind your back. And, it's like it's almost like human nature. Not to say that every human is that way, but I find, hard to find this day and age,
good friends,
good people and good friends. Yeah. So.
And when you do find them,
keep them.
Keep them.
Very hard to find. We went out last night, had tea.
Yeah.
And
listened to some really cool
music. Danced.
Yep.
But then I thought I lost my wallet.
Yeah, about that.
Oh my God. I was like, I'm as OCD as I am and as responsible of a human being that I try to be, that usually never happens. So I'm like, how in the world? Wasn't drunk, I wasn't drinking. I mean, I've never even lost my wallet drinking. And, I'm like, we went in the car, maybe I fell out of my pocket. We drove back to the place and it was freezing. And so we came back and I was like, well, I guess I have to call the credit cards and, cancel them before somebody goes hot wire with them. And I called both of the credit cards and whatever bank institution. And then what?
Well, then I went to give you a hug in the bedroom. I mean, the spare room there where the closet is. And as I was hugging you, in my peripheral vision, I saw something that looked like a on top of the bike seat.
And what happened is, and that's the problem when one is not mindful and present. And, I try to be as mindful and present, but I'm human, I make mistakes. I went to take my clothes off, but I went and took my wallet out and put it on top of the bike seat. Took my clothes off, hung them back up and all that stuff, and I went to go to bed. Because I'm always thinking, did I put my wallet away? I usually have a place that I always put my wallet so I don't forget. And I went there and it wasn't there. I panicked. Oh my God, where did my wallet go? So I'm thinking, okay, I probably didn't take it out of my pocket. I went to check, it wasn't there. Thinking maybe fell down on the floor and it wasn't there. Went to the car, flashlight and all, nothing. Drove back to the place. It was freezing last night too. And they're like, no, we didn't find anything. And I'm thinking, oh man, somebody took it. That sucks. Well, no. So needless to say, now can't use my ATM or credit cards for a week or two till I get a new one.
But the highlight is that you don't have to replace your driver's license.
I know.
You don't have to replace
my insurance card and all that stuff. And I still have
you still have some cash in your wallet.
Yeah, I still have my trusted wallet. So, because I've had that for a long time. Actually, I used to be your wallet.
Did it?
You bought it when you detransitioned. I bought it for you. So I inherited it. But yeah. That's one of those things where, gosh, and I hate losing everything. I have like a little ritual, and it's automatic. It's like I check my pockets for my keys, I check my back pocket for my wallet, and it's like, it's all good. But it's one of those things, but hey, it was a good ending to the story anyway.
At least.
So.
Your streak is.
Yeah, it's still there.
Still there. So years and decades going and still strong.
It just sucks that now I've got to wait to get my stuff in the mail. It takes usually 7 to 10 business days. But that's how it goes. That's how, then we try calling back saying, no, I found it. It's like, no,
I'm sorry.
It's not, you called.
Sorry, Charlie, you blocked it.
It can't be used.
It's over.
It's over and done with. I don't know if we could end up seeing people's comments because we can't.
No, you can't. So you want to change it
well, no.
to the comments.
I gotta go over here and I'm gonna hit the no noise, or else it's gonna be a
Clink, clink.
clink, clink, clink. But you know, yeah, it's one of those things. That's why being mindful is extremely important. Extremely. Where is the?
There it is.
Somewhere. So
Wonderful chat.
Something. It's
wonderful chat. Oh,
there's
very good chat. The
Cummings, and there's Carrie. See, it's a good thing we changed. So
I might be at that. And Mark.
Yeah, this kind of looks like it's a bit.
What?
Wuzzy or something like that?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. Anyway, we were having a conversation today.
Yes, we were.
Regarding.
We have a lot of conversations.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to, as a couple.
Yeah.
We're usually we disagree. You get upset, get triggered, shut down, and stuff of that nature. I mean,
yeah. Because there's so many things that are like very much like something like that I don't really want to delve into because it's like, gosh, here we are, we're living our lives and we have to go into this whole, what it means to be, why we did what we did, telling other people about not doing it, you know, and all that stuff. And it just, it gets to the point where it becomes very like off-putting because, you know, I feel like a hypocrite.
Right. And what I wrote today, because I don't feel like a hypocrite. I think I mentioned that the other day. On the contrary, you know, I find that.
But you're at a different place than I am.
Totally. 16 plus.
You're
16 plus years. If I can find this and I can read it. Yes, I have a trans history. Yes, I grow a beard. Yes, I once advocated and was pro-transition, but now I warn people against the dangers of said transition. I no longer approve of the methods people use for expression, which includes hurting their bodies, the transition of children or individuals or children who have a life already set before transition. Yes, I know that it may sound hypocritical to most, but I really don't care. I care about saving lives. I care about justice for all, not just a chosen few. I care about the spirit and awakening of this more or less, I don't even know if that's a word, society without any morals, more or less. Who place their needs and pleasure in front of everyone else's. So we need to wake up to the truth that sex is unchangeable, that transition does not solve our problems, that many people end up regretting their choices after many years, ending up alone, sick, lost, and void. You may not agree with me, but that's okay. I will speak my mind anyway. It's not hate, but it is love. Tough love sometimes is tough, but it's not transphobic either, but trans education. People need to know both sides of it. And, you know, I think it's important. I think that yesterday when we were out, you were looking at your emails and you saw that Gender Trender had been shut down.
Yeah, the longtime gender critical website blog.
Yeah, that's been out forever.
It's been out for a long time. Actually featured our story about puberty blockers back in 2015 and got us
a lot of recognition. The Fourth Wave Now and other feminists and things of that nature. And she has done a lot of interviews. A lot of people have written blogs in her blog, and it's been a source of good education. And again, education is not one way. There's always two sides. And the sad thing about people in the trans community, they only want to hear one side. And then what happens to those people that want to detransition, for those people that do regret their transition, there's not a voice for them, you know, and that's sad because everyone's entitled.
So the great, you know, feature-packed blog, which is Gender Trender, and is kind of the bane of so many trans people in the trans community, went dead.
Dead.
Completely
dead.
Gone. WordPress, the company who owns the blogging company website, they pulled the plug on it. Gender Trender.
So Carrie says, I don't think you sound hypocritical. who best to give advice to those thinking of transition than someone who has been through things? Exactly. That's how I feel. It's like, you know, if somebody has walked a road and they see that the bridge is broken and they're going to go and try to stop traffic because they don't want people to go and fall and break their necks or kill themselves because the bridge is broken. Well, that's what I feel. And then Phil said something else there. Oh, that's scary. Censorship is growing. It is. It's like, it's crazy. And
I mean, if it can happen to gender trender, it can happen to
anybody. And we're seeing it more and more. There's a lot of bullying taking place. And, you know, the sad thing is that the minority who's claiming, you know, who wants compassion and equality are the ones that are bullying people and trying to shut them down and shut them up.
And it's really sad because the article was kind of, you know, wasn't the article that you would think would have them get their, you know, site taken down.
What happened was, and Phil, we spoke about this in our last show. What was the name of the person who was JY? Did we just lose? Let me see if I close some of these windows.
Yeah, any app that's open, make sure they're all closed down.
And let me close all this stuff out. Should I refresh to see what's going on here? Yeah, here we are. Anyway, what we spoke about.
Did you close all your other apps?
That's, yeah.
Because you have a bunch.
No, I always leave that there. That's not, even when we do the show, because that's our intro and outro. Yeah, was it JD or DJ or JY or something like that? Well, Gender Trender made the mistake of using the full name. Okay. I guess that's why that article didn't mention it. And because of the use of the name, there's this new thing now where people are not allowed to use the real name, old name, or something like that of a transgender individual, because that's new. It had started November 12 or something. Yes, and I'm not going to mention that name because I don't want. Yeah. I don't want our stuff to take it down, right? But something near that nature is what happened, and I don't know if we are at it being seen again, or because we're just getting this. Excuse me. We went to eat at Wrangler's.
At a big salad bar.
Yeah, we went up.
2 big plates.
Big plates. So I'm like, you know, because we only eat 1 meal a day, but when we eat to the super fill, and then there's
like we're like
up to here. It's like 23-hour fast, 1 hour eating.
Super fat, super fiber dinner.
It's part of Canada, but how can that affect British Columbia? But how does that affect Gender Trender? She's in the States, isn't she?
Yes.
I don't know what, I mean, we're going to talk a little more into detail probably unless we want to pull it up on Tuesday's show. This is just, you know, Sunday relax without all the stuff going on. But it's really sad that they would do that, because there are very few besides, what's that other one?
4th Wave Now.
And what's the mother of who had a trans child? She's been 4th Wave. Yeah, 4th Wave Now is the one. And then Gender Trender was, you know, the other. And there's very few, you know, places where detransitioners and parents that are concerned about their kids and don't want to go with the transition route. So I think it's really diabolical and evil of the trans community to try to just shut people up and shut them down because they don't want anything else but, you know, their agenda being waved around like the flag. And
it's really sad, you know. I mean, and the bottom line is that if it can happen to Gender Trender, it can happen to anybody, you know. And that's the scary times that we live in, that we can't just be honest and open about things that are,
and agree to disagree, have discussions, civil discussions, you know, because that's how it goes. I mean, you and I don't agree on everything. I'm 16 years into this, and you know, it's not important to me. Gender is not important. I don't see the whole concept of wanting to take your life and flip it upside down, literally lose it all to be able to express, because that's all people are doing. We're expressing. We're not ever going to become that gender. All the best that we could do is in a simulation. And is the simulation, I think there was something that Renee Richards said, I'd rather be a full functioning male than a poor simulation of a woman. It's what they became, and they regretted their sex change after the years. And that tends to happen to a lot of people, and it's especially as they get older. And this is something that young trans people need to hear, because they're putting all their cards on the table. It's like playing poker, and you have all this money, and you're like, okay, I'm going to bet it all. Thinking that you have a great hand, but not realizing that the person right over there has a better hand than you, but you're like so certain that you're going to win it all. And all of a sudden you turn your cards around, that person turns the card around, and you're lost.
And just about everything that Mark said right now in the last minute has been something that personally I didn't really care to hear right now, but I'm letting it just sit and just ingest it and just allow it to be a part of my space, because these are things that, it's like, I feel like I don't have the right to tell someone else what they should or shouldn't do with their lives.
But I didn't tell anybody what they should not do. It's like,
I know, but that when you say things, it's like, oh, I know, and my word is. But
that's not at all. That's not at all what I said. I said it's like people placing all other cards on the table. Okay, I'm explaining what it is like.
I know, but the very fact that you're talking about it, that you're like bringing up what is obviously been a struggle for most people with transition.
Of course,
is very much.
But it's important that people
don't want to hear.
That people who are on the fence, people who are not sure if they're going to do this, people are like, thinking that transition is going to solve it all, when in the end it really doesn't. What does Phil say? Phil says, I laughed in the 90s when conservatives said political correctness would turn into thought crime, but the past few years have vindicted them, especially with gender critical discourse. Yep, definitely. So anyway, we were talking during our buffet pig out there, and you were sharing some things, because to me, I'm fascinated by human behavior. I'm a psychologist at heart, although I'm not a psychologist, I'm an occupational therapist, but psychology was a very big part of my curriculum. I studied child psychology, abnormal and normal, adult psychology, abnormal and normal behavior, all the different things of that nature, because we have to work with individuals that have disability. When you have a physical disability, you also tend to have mental disabilities throughout the years. So it always really interests me to hear people's story and to hear, the actual reasoning behind their decisions, So, and I understand the triggering, how people get upset. They don't want to hear things. I mean, we've been together going on 4 years, and I know that a lot of the things that I say trigger you. But when something triggers somebody, and this is one thing that I've heard a lot of experts say, when something creates a rise in you, it means that it's true and it's affecting you, and a person can't handle that. And that's okay. I mean, that's where you are, and that's where a lot of people are.
I think there's more to it than that. I mean, I think that people's physiological responses are tied to their emotional makeup. And basically, like, I know that I am hypersensitive. Yes. Okay, like if you tap me on the knee, my knee jumps.
Actually, you do have it's more than hypersensitive. Your nervous system is overstimulated. Like when you yawn, your arms move, and I noticed that from the beginning when I was taking care of you after the accident, when the disability doctor tested your reflexes, they were hyperactive, excessively. You're very sensitive to things.
So I think that has also a translation to how the brain actually takes in stimuli and responds to it. Because for me, it's not just a normal, oh, okay, I'll hear it out. For me, it's like a pinging ringing type of a reverberation that happens when I hear something that I don't want to hear, or that triggers me.
You hear something you don't want to hear.
Yeah,
okay.
I hear something that I don't want to hear.
Okay.
It triggers me, and then that would like ring inside more so than the average person.
Right. No, but that, not just the average person. You notice that in the trans community. Trigger warning. Something's going to trigger me. If we really look at the definition of triggering, it's not about something that's being said. I mean, it's really a deeper meaning than that, but it's been taken out of context with the trans community, because hearing something that person does not want to hear.
But I'm not talking about other people.
Right.
I'm talking about
you.
myself.
No, I know, but I'm also equating it with, because trans is a community, trans is a body, trans is a group of people, and there is a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? There is a lot of behaviors that are very common within that community, and I'm not judging it. You know, I'm just trying to explain, as a healthcare provider, as a person who has a lot of awareness with psychology, analyzing the behavior. And again, it's not bad, it's not good, it's not anything, it's just analyzing it. But yeah, the hypersensitivity creates that, and it's like, you don't want to hear it, you want to run away from what's being said, and, you know, whatever.
Well, it's not really that simple, but, you know,
well,
I mean,
you could explain it further. I can barely read this. Kaneki Big says, could it be something that the natural senses is trying to adjudicate, because discrimination is so rampant outside that the inside is trying to balance reasonability, sensibility, and rationality within? Yeah, the person is most likely probably trying to self-soothe and calm themselves down, because as a child, because we behave differently than maybe our siblings and maybe other people, we got treated differently, and we learned to find a way to cope with our surroundings, you know. And I was reading this article yesterday that kids nowadays, and probably a generation 50, 60 years from, you know, from back on or whatever, wants things immediately. Parents don't teach kids patience. They give into their demands and their wants and their needs. You know, they spoil them. Kids don't know how to have a moment of silence, a moment of nothing happening. Good evening, Kaneki Biggs. Thank you for joining us. It's like, what's next? What's next? And you got the computers, and you got the iPhones, and you got the video games. And kids aren't ever taught, and even some adults are never taught to just like sit with a thought, you know, try not to let that thought trigger you, try not to let that thought anger you, try to like understand, why is this making me upset? What reasons do I have? You know, because a lot of times the things that are being said that upsetting the person is not a lie. It has validity to it, but there's a reason behind it. And I think when we learn how to sit with that feeling, understand it, and not react, you know, that's how we grow. Well, and you've grown for me leaps and bounds, you know, tremendously.
For me, like the other day, like last night, and I think that probably contributed to you not knowing where your wallet was that you started watching something on YouTube that was like, for me, kind of like, you know, here we go with another end of the world scenario. The world's gonna, you know, go to hell in a handbasket, you know, and, you know, prepare and, you know, get your rations and all that. And I just frankly didn't really care to hear about it, you know, because what is that gonna do for me in the immediate future to hear? You know, it's like, if there's a nuclear bomb coming my way, and I know that I'm going to be evaporated off the face of the earth, I'd rather not know.
No, that's you. I like to be informed.
Who wants to know that there's something beyond your control?
Yeah.
You know, if you know that an asteroid's going to come and hit the planet, I'd rather the media not tell us, because if they tell us, and it's a end of the world as we know it scenario.
And that's respectable, and that's your thought. You know, I like to be informed. I'm a truth seeker and truth teller. I like to find out a lot of things and learn.
For me, that would just add more stress to my life that I wouldn't need. You know, I'd rather live the
For
rest
me-
of those minutes.
For me, that's just
No.
giving me information that I could, you know, if I have 5 minutes to live, what do I want to do with those last 5 minutes? You know, but that we're different that way. And, you know, I don't get stressed out. I've learned to let things just happen. And like I said, I sit with it. I try to deal with it and not, you know, react or get upset or whatever, because that doesn't really solve anything. Hello, Radical Angel. Radical Angel says, such a treat to see you both. Thank you for doing this incredibly important work. You're very welcome, Radical Angel. It's a passion of mine. And, you know, I can't, you know, live a life and not express how I feel and not share my emotions and not share my feelings and not educate people and not try to warn people. I can't stop people from doing what they want to do, but I could plant a seed, and then it's up to that person to do with that information as they wish. You know, but what I find it incredibly insulting is when a person tries to shut me up, or a person tries to tell me not to say something, or like what happened to Gender Trender, you know, and that seems to be a very typical behavior in a lot of the trans, you know, circles. They just want to shut people up, and that's not right, because people should have a right to speak.
And you know, although I don't agree with everything you have to say, as your spouse,
right.
I'm here to support you.
Oh, I appreciate
and
that.
to, you know, give you encouragement.
Right.
Even if I don't agree with some of the things that you may say and stuff, if you feel passionate about it, I'm like, who am I to tell you to shut
And
up?
can I tell you something? I don't know if I ever spoke about this. One of the reasons I'm very passionate about this is because I see the struggle that you have from your losses, from not being able to see your kids. Prior to being with you, I was always a trans advocate. You know, I had a couple of things towards the end, because I had, what's her name? Kathy Brennan on the show when I was still with Jessica, and that created a little friction with the trans community, because they couldn't believe I would have had Kathy Brennan on the show. I'm a journalist. When I had Transition Radio, I used to love to interview people and let them speak their minds. And a couple of little things here and there, but never to this point. And when I saw what I saw, the suffering, the, oh my God, so wow. You know, and then I put myself in the shoe. If I were to do this, and I would have had a family, and I would have lost everything, and I would battle with myself. So it gave me another way of looking at this, and then seeing people that do regret it, because there's a lot of people out there that do regret this. And we've seen it, we've researched it, we've looked at older trans women, older trans men, that after the fact are like, I don't know why I did this for, I didn't solve anything. You know, and I understand you're only, 5 years into your transition, and I'm 16. I understand that, but, you know, spreading truth, putting, like I said, there's two sides to everything, is very important. But I do appreciate you supporting and, you know, and speaking your mind. But there are things that you and I do agree on. We agree on not transing children. We agree that surgery is, you know, not the answer of anything. On the contrary, it hurts the endocrine system. Hypersensitive could be an irrational defense mechanism because of the unfairness. So unfairness, quote unquote. So empathy is unbalanced. Very true. And Kenny Binks also says, I see it's like it's better to be prepared for something that doesn't happen than for the things to happen and not be prepared. But if that thing's obvious, it matters to the, but if that thing is oblivion, it matters to the oblivious. And I'm always like, I'd rather be prepared. I'm anal with a capital A. You know, I'm always trying to like, okay, did I do this? I need to do that. I need to pay this. Oh my God, this other thing. So I'm always that way. And, you know, if there is something coming and it's going to blow us all up, I want to be able to take the time to pick up the phone and make amends with my family. I want to be able to hold you for the 5 minutes that maybe we're going to die in 5 minutes. Let's make this 5 minutes count. You know, then to all of a sudden, oh,
two weeks.
No, I know. I'm not judging you, but that's why I'm always looking at things, and I'm, you know, very curious about stuff. And, you know, I don't live with the sky is falling. I have no fear because I have zero fears, but I like to be informed, you know? And so that's how it goes. So so we were talking about
personal matters, things that I hold near and dear to my heart because I don't know about everybody else's experience with their transition or how they weren't received by their family, rejected or not rejected. In my case, it has been an absolute, pushing away, cut off, ripping apart, blowing up the foundation. And, I said it in a video of mine from a couple weeks ago, that if I had to do it all over again, I would think twice, But I don't know at that point what would have happened to me had I not chosen to do what I did. I see some, some things that transpire from it. I'm a different person. I met you. I've learned certain things that I probably wouldn't have learned if I would have stayed in the type of life I had. But the type of life I had was so not like this, that it took everybody off guard completely, and they couldn't believe it, and they still probably can't, and they refuse to accept it. And so the biggest loss for me is my children, and it's always been that way. And up until my accident, I was fighting hard to keep them in my life, but after that happened, it was all over. There was pretty much nothing that I could do. And so knowing the pain that I've been through, knowing the struggles that I've gone through, you wanted to delve more into what caused me to think that I had to do this. Why did I abandon everything that I knew, everything that I had been taught, everything that I had been expected to be? Why did I do what I should never have done? So we
hold that thought. So
okay.
If I could ask this, and I mean no offense by it, nor do I hold discrimination in my nature of being, but would you consider it a very alien type of life? Absolutely. If there was such a thing as leopards, leprosy, or whatever, leopards. I'm Cuban, I'm sorry. But I would think that this would be it, because people have adjusted and tolerate lesbians and gays. They're used to that. Trans is another story, because people just can't fathom somebody taking their life and turning it, like I said, upside down and changing it and creating something that
But the thing is, you're not just creating a new world for you, you're creating a new world and expecting everyone else to live in it that knew you. Like, my kids will only always ever see me as their dad, but yet here I am,
right.
And I am one thing to you, but then I have to be forever seen as one thing to them.
Right.
So what like, you had a great statement and question when you said, what functional purpose do trans people serve in society?
Yeah, and
right?
what in transitioning, okay, and a person deciding that they were born in the wrong body, they're going to take hormones, have surgery. What functionality does it have to do that? Except, and I'm trigger warning, except putting on clothing, getting in front of a mirror, taking selfies. And every day taking selfies. I mean, I see some of these trans women every day. They take selfies in front of the same door, the same thing. They've done their surgeries. They've done it all with a guitar in their hand, with the same thing over and over. It's like Groundhog Day. What functionality does this person, I'm not going to mention name, have in the world? Where, as Renee Richards says, I would rather be a functioning man than a non-functioning woman, or trans woman. And it's like, so I asked that question, what functionality? It's like people, when they're little, they look forward to growing up, going to school, getting a degree. becoming something. And although I'm not into the whole that matrix, but that's what life, you know, expects of us. Getting married, having kids, having grandkids, leaving your legacy behind, something where they say, and the day of your funeral, like the friend of yours who died, 70-something-year-old Christian man, had a beautiful eulogy. You know, eulogy was the, what's the name of the place they used to work for? Lifeway, Trinity or whatever, made this huge, beautiful funeral for him and saying how wonderful and the legacy of a great father and a great grandfather and all these things. What do we trans people
leave behind?
Leave behind, except for those that try to wave the flag and beat everybody across the head with it, saying, "You will accept us."
What we do leave behind, and it was something that I attempted to pen down in a blog that got just totally discombobulated. I don't know how, but what we do leave behind is a legacy of negativity. We leave a legacy of like tragedy.
Yeah.
A legacy of like what if, or like if only, like, you know, here lies so and so, broken, destroyer of families. You know, I mean,
or if you even get anybody to come to your funeral for that matter, you know, because that's what happens. We're like you said, aliens, you know, something that is not normal, something that is like, you know, a plague, you know. I mean, my own family sees me as such. I mean, I've learned to deal with it and it doesn't affect me anymore because I'm good at turning switches off and turning switches on.
Well,
it's something that I
not that you don't get affected, it's that you like turn off your DNA.
Yeah, I turn off the switch so I don't feel, you know, it's something I had to learn to do from the time that I was little so that I wouldn't feel the whatever when I was getting molested, so I wouldn't feel when my father would come home drunk. So I learned to quickly, okay, I'm tuning out now. So I tune feelings out. And that's been my self-defense mechanism. You know, you see this rough and tough kind of persona here, you know, deep down inside it's a very gentle, loving soul. Whatever gender you want to express it, but I don't show that to everybody. I don't show that vulnerability to everybody because life has not been that nice to me. And I'm not trying to gain compassion here or anything like that. And I'm sure a lot of people in the world feel the same because life is hard for everyone, not just trans people. But I've learned to deal with things, you know, and not allow it to like bring my world upside down. Something's going to happen. Okay, what can I do to make it better? How can I protect myself? How can I protect you? How can I make stuff? Because I'm always, you know, thinking. But could you read that? You want me to read it?
No, I can't read it.
You can't read it? Alien, you don't have your glasses? Oh, yeah.
It's too far.
Too far? Okay.
Yeah,
well, alien. Okay, alien I meant more like something that world doesn't know how to know or understand and living here. It would be almost like another world to traverse. Yeah, because it's something that is very different. You know, something that's very different. People understand feminine man. People understand a masculine woman. People even understand somebody who's a bit androgynous. You see a lot of that in the world. But when somebody says, hi, I was born in the wrong body and I'm going to do a blah, blah, blah through Z, it's kind of hard. And especially if the trail hasn't been there. And that's what we were talking about. And that's the blog that you wrote.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I mean, I was just going through old Facebook messages from the day that I had officially put down as my transition day, and to my detriment and to my demise. I don't know what the word is I would want to use, but
you're Puerto Rican too, so
yeah, I know.
You're Puerto Rican.
February 14th is when I came out in 2014. And everyone knows that's Valentine's Day. So everybody thought that, oh my gosh, of all the days you could have picked, it honestly just so happened to land on that day because I was being outed at my job. So I wanted to be out before they knew, you know, on my own terms, before they plastered it out there. So I eventually, you know, stated what I stated and then had my coming out speech. And then I got lots of old, like family members and my nieces from my ex's side of the family. They were just devastated. They were like, Uncle Paul, I can't believe this is what I'm hearing. I just don't see it. I just can't believe that you would do this and that. that my aunt is going to now have to deal with, the realities of not having a husband, and what you did with us before, and you were so good with us, and blah, blah, it's like, oh my gosh, I just felt so like, at the time, I just felt like, you don't understand, but you understand. But now it's like, I go, yes, you're right. I did, and I was so good. I was such a good person. I had such a great legacy.
And we're going to go into what,
I had so much insight and influence and respect and honor. And
all of which you lost.
I mean, totally like, it's gone, everybody. It's gone. It's like I did this with the dynamite, and just like blew myself up,
So before we go into your childhood and things that I believe that may have played into a lot of these decisions. See, Kennedy had another question. Let me go to Phil real quick. Have either of you ever seen videos by YouTuber ContraPoints on transgender issues? No, we have not. I haven't.
No, not really.
But we'll check it out, ContraPoints. And Kanique had another question. She said that I missed, or he. I'm not sure if you're a he or a she or how you identify. I'm sorry. Could it be? Wait, could it be that when there is transcend the minds of all men would have to be transformed to have capacity for unifying principles of understanding, or else there can be no transference to reason?
Like getting in touch with your feminine essence?
Yes. There's Carl Jung really touches about
Animan.
Very, very great. I studied Carl Jung when I was in college and learning all the stuff that I learned. And I believe that this whole man getting in touch with their feminine side is not about the physicality. It's been misconstrued because, this world has a way of doing that. For those that are not religious, but for those that are religious, the dark side has a way of taking something good and turning it into evil. So yes, I believe that there is some sort of integration that both men and women go through different developmental stages of life, and being in touch with their nurturing, not the feminine of putting articles of feminine clothing on, but the nurturing, the being able to take part in the home, maybe helping your wife with the home duties, getting more involved, your hands in more of what a female role would be, and the woman, the same thing, getting more in touch with her masculine energy. And energy has nothing to do with articles of clothing, painting your nails and all this stuff, which I believe this is what's been misconstrued in the world.
And I wanted to add that, there are natural biological stages that men and women both go through in life. And, the menopause is a big one for women and stuff. And that is a time when those feminine hormones come to like
a halt,
right? And women typically, then shift into another part of life. And men, vice versa, actually have a time in their life called menopause.
Right.
When they stop producing as much testosterone after 35, is it?
Yeah.
You start producing less and less and less testosterone. And actually, a 55-year-old male has less testosterone in them. I mean, what is it? Like they have more estrogen.
Right. And they have to be careful.
Female.
Yeah, and they have to be careful because too much estrogen in a man after the age of 45 can lead to prostate problems, can lead to all sorts of diabetes, cancer, heart problems, thyroid problems, because your endocrine system becomes totally out of whack. So it's important. That's why a lot of guys at a certain age have to go for HRT and have a little bit more testosterone so that their estrogen level doesn't dominate. And that's always been my concern with transgender women. Because even though you think you're women, even though you're trying to duplicate the whole thing, your biology doesn't see it. And you're going to be prone to diseases that you wouldn't normally be prone to had you not been taking all the hormones and removing your testicles and things of that nature. And it's important. Health is the most important thing of all. So let's see. Kenique says, that integration would have to be the very nature of man to be transformed by the renewing of the mind in order for a non-discriminatory spirit within the very nature of man. Yeah, yeah, it is an integration.
I think that, you know, there has to be something said about how the native populations of this planet lived and how they viewed gender and gender roles, not necessarily sex realities, because, I mean, the two-spirit people of those cultures were never seen as that other gender.
Never.
They were never seen as that.
Never.
Now, they were given a place in that particular other gender, opposite gender of them, to perform duties and to have responsibilities and stuff. You know, I mean, if they were more masculine women, they would go on the
hunting with a man.
You know, there were some of the women who were better hunters than men were. You know, and then there were the nurturing, you know, feminine men who went and they were able to, but it's not like they were able to go into the menstruation tents with
they wouldn't allow
with the women. They wouldn't allow that because
women needed their sacred spaces.
There's a place in society for all gender expressions, you know, and those in between were given that space.
Right. They didn't demand it, they didn't force it, they didn't do what trans women nowadays are trying to do with women, of forcing themselves into the bathroom, forcing themselves into, you know, places. Like, what was it, Mitch Fest got closed out because, you know, the whole
But these days, it's like there's only one of two boxes to go into. There's only two, you know. So if you don't fit, and as a person who was born male, you know, I always felt alienated to that particular gender role. So I was like, you know, well, if I'm not that, then I must be this.
And that's the gender confusion.
And that was the confusion that I was under. But there are contributing factors to that. There are things that actually encourage it, that actually enliven it and empower it and stuff.
So we're talking about functionality, and you're saying that when the woman reaches a certain age, she goes into another stage of life where now she becomes a grandparent, and now their grandma has a different dynamic as mom had when they were mom, and you know, there's functionality. We all have timelines that we serve functionality in the sex that we are born to or as. Trans people don't have that functionality. And it's forced, you know. It's like, I'm gonna take you with me, you like it or not. Said,
it's like, you
know,
grandma has to be, you know. It's like grandpa has to be seen as grandma.
And there's already a grandma, you know. Like somebody I was reading, I already have a mother. I don't need another mother. Something that I was reading.
Renee Richards'
son, you know, who was totally messed up because of what happened. I mean, children are affected by this. Okay, so did you believe this is possible? Do I believe the integration would have been the very nature of man to be transformed by the renewing of the mind? Yes, because it's like a new spirit, born again. You know, a new, what would I say? A new, not dimension, but a new autonomy or a new dichotomy or something like that. And, you know, for a spirit that is awakened, for a spirit that is not so rigid into the gender boxes and so wanting to fit a certain way, this is very possible. And that, I think that is one of the many functionalities as a human being, never mind the gender, is to be able to transcend, transpose, evolve our spirit body. Not our meat, fleshy body is not even important. I mean, we put so much importance into this. We base our entire lives on this. We are here to grow spiritually. I mean, that's our main purpose, you know? And I know you know that, but I know you struggle. You know, I know you struggle because of what we're going to talk about in a little bit. Let's see one more. I have something that is very similar to you, very alien, very misunderstood, comes through by tragedy and having to still live on the earth in the world of man. I hear you. Do you know how many times I look up to the sky and say, please take me home. This is not my planet. Since the day I was born, I died when I was less than a year old, and they brought me back to life. And since I was a little kid, I always look up above and I'm like, you know, like E.T. go home. I don't feel, I've always felt alienated. I've always felt outcast. I've never been good with making friends. I've never been good in like with a whole hypocritical, socializing, materialistic. It's not me. I'm all about heart. I'm all about truth. And I'm all about truth and realness. And at all costs, it doesn't matter to me. You know, and that's important. The superficiality stuff is very foreign to me, extremely foreign.
You know what I noticed, like when you first do transition and we started getting a lot of radical feminist friends and stuff, people that were like, come on back, you know, sister, you know, they were embracing you and welcoming you back and everything. And I just remember thinking, there isn't a community like that for people like me, because once you do the deed of going back on the gender that you were born as, or the sex that you were born as, and forsaking that world of men, there you don't get your man card back. It's like you lose it and it's gone. Because I mean, it's like nobody's going to respect you. No one's going to support that type of a person, because that person is seen as a pansy, weak, you know, a person that doesn't have the ability to cope with the realities.
And I understand that feels very disheartening and alienating to anyone, and such as yourself, or anyone who has transitioned and they want to detransition, and they feel that way. But my what's the word I'm looking for? My advice would be, we can't live our lives based on community, on what others think, whether they're waving the flag or holding their hands on and say, come home to mama. We've got to feel in our souls, in our hearts, that, hey, this is about my healing. This is about me being in peace, because disease is imbalance. That's when the body becomes imbalanced. Lack of peace is war. And when you're at war with yourself, and every transgender person alive is in war with themselves, whether they transition, whether they're assuming to transition, whether they're done. There's always a war and a battle, because we have, you know, the devil and the angel, and there's always that battle. We all have it. So by allowing yourself to find that peace, that's the coming home. That's the prodigal son. You yourself are your own judge. You know, God is not going to judge us. We judge ourselves on the day of whatever it is. So we have to make that peace with ourselves. We have to say, you know what? I'll pick up my pieces, my cross. I'm going to walk with this. I'm going to be the best person I can be, you know, and heal. Because in the end, it's not about this. It's not about the life that we're living here in this 3 dimension, which is all an illusion, a lie. It's about transcending. We need to let go of the baggages. We need to let go of all this heavy stuff that we're carrying in order for us to be able to continue on to the next, and to the next, and to the next level. That's, you know, what's really important. Can you say anything else? If I said I've been informed with the Holy Spirit, and in this I have learned how to mind and think in order to wrap any situation in life and peace. Would you think religion? No, I'm not religious. I grew up as a Jehovah. I was really baptized as a Catholic and grew up as a Jehovah Witness. I think religion does a lot of harm, and religion alienates people, and religion makes people actually run to the dark side more so, because, I mean, you're a great example. You grew up with such, you know, dogma, what's the word I'm looking for? Such fundamental, there's a devil under every rock, you know, and I think that doesn't really help people. I think people need to know that they're loved, that our Father loves us no matter what. He may not agree with what we're doing. He may not have intended for us to live this life, and he allows it because he knows that something good is going to come out of it. There's going to be some beautiful growth. There's going to be some evolution of our spirit, and he rejoices in that. But religion, I don't know. I've always considered myself spiritual, and yes, peace is, in my opinion, one of the greatest attributes that we could ever hope to achieve. You know. So let's go back to. So you have a very imagination, if that's the word that I'm looking for, and I mean I see it very childlike, very innocent, something that I fell in love with. You know, I see the little baby boy, I see the little baby girl, I see, you know, all these little things in you through your eyes, and, you know, that's why I fell in love with you. not because of the little boy, but because of the innocence. I don't want to see my son weirdo, but when you explain, you have a sibling, an older sibling. You guys are 8 years apart, and you idolize your sibling, as my sister idolized me. You used to watch TV and go into a little bit
basically, my sister is 8 years older than me, and she was born. She was basically the queen of the castle, right? She was daddy's little princess. She was, you know, the child because she was the only child. I came along in 1970 and basically shook her world apart. And I'm sure that, like many little sisters, older sisters, she didn't appreciate it. You know, here comes little baby Jesus, you know, and mom's oodling and dawdling over her new baby boy and stuff. And, you know, I think there was a lot of resentment there. I think that there's still something to the relationship that I've always had with my sister, where there's always been envy.
Yes.
There's always been, you know, jealousy and stuff like that, and competing for mom and dad's attention. You know, it's nothing that we don't see in society all the time. I mean, you had your own sister.
I had my sister in there, which I thought was very 8 years apart, same difference, except I was the older. Yeah, I tried to hide her under the bed. I was like, how dare them bring another child to my world, you know? And there was always that sibling rivalry, and, you know, Yvette was always wanting my attention and love, and I was like, yeah, you're a little beyond. I loved her to death as I started growing older. But when you're younger, you're 8 and this newborn, and my mom wanted me to take care of her, change her diapers. I became a parent overnight, you know? And so you do things unintentionally. You want to hurt your sibling, but you're angry, you're jealous, you know, it's what goes. So I would tell her things. You're not from here. You're from the milkman. Mom and dad didn't have you. Turned out my sister told you the same thing.
She told me mom and dad found me in the trash can outside the hospital, felt sorry for me and brought me home. So, you know, here I was for like years, even into adulthood, thinking, could it be possible that I was adopted, that I'm really not Puerto Rican? Am I really, like, maybe I'm Mexican? I don't know. So anyway, I don't think that siblings realize the potential damage that they can cause to their fellow sibling, right? And I'm not going to blame solely the situation, but these are contributing factors. When you have a person who is hypersensitive or whatever, what is it? Whatever. Hyper-reflexes and very impressionable, and, you know, a people pleaser wanting to, you know, get the adulation and validation from, you know, their parents and stuff like that. When you tell them things or you do things with them that make you, you know, they just really impress on to a young mind in a way that sets them up for future, I don't know, future encounters, future vulnerabilities.
Exactly.
I know my sister wouldn't ever, she would never ever, you know, confess to it, but, you know, I was dressed in clothing, you know, made to look like a girl, you know, whatever. She was playing out.
Probably, and very common, wanted a little sister instead of a little brother.
I remember my sister saying, if you were to have been a girl, mom would have named you Ginger. And I was like,
so these are all seeds that are planted,
you know,
unintentionally. I love, you know, your sister to death, and I'm sure you didn't want to do anything to compromise your health, as I didn't want to do anything to compromise my sister's health. But we do things as older siblings sometimes that, you know, are detrimental to the future mental health of our young sibling.
So, you know, I mean, I'm not going to say that these are factors that cause people to transition in the future, but I just wanted to say that there are things that actually are catalysts for it, you know, and my sister and my relationship, catalyst for it. My mom, how she treated me, catalyst for it. you know, going to this shopping mall with my mom and sister at a young age and being forced to sit there and as they tried on dresses in the dressing room.
And let me ask you, when they
down.
sat and tried dresses in the dressing room and they left you out, how did you feel?
I felt left out.
Okay.
Yeah. I felt like, you know, why can't I be like that?
Why can't I go in and try dresses like mom and sis?
Yeah, because I mean, it was like, what, you know, where my dad isn't taking me anywhere. He's busy working. And,
Right.
you know, so here I am. But, you know, these are all contributing catalysts. You know, they don't cause it. And you can, you know, there are kids out there that they're going to go right over these little
Right.
bumps.
Well, these
in the
kids
road.
don't have the hypersensitivity, the hyperreflexivity. They don't have the neurological impressionable and, you know, things that would make one child do one thing from a catalyst versus another who may not, you know. So, okay, so that, you know, the sister, I mean, I'm sure that because she was envious of you getting all the attention, being spoiled and all that, she wanted to make you feel that, you know, at the time and whatever. It's normal. It's what happens. And I'm sure there are times when girls are better than boys and things of that nature,
Yeah.
you know, that could probably, you know, like, well, I'm a girl then, you know, or whatever, you know, it's like.
I don't know of a specific incident where that actually happened or anything, but, you know, I do know that there is a conditioning that's being played on by society,
Yes.
and it has been in the works for a very long time. And those innocent cartoons that you think of, Looney Tunes, which, by the way, originally were shown in movie houses in between the country, you know, cowboy movie shoot 'em ups and stuff like that, that would just show those. They weren't intended for children. And you see all the sexual innuendos, you know, if you look in the background of the pictures during, you know, if you're watching the cartoon, you'll see like a naked, you know, symbol of some sort on a wall. I mean, you know, and Bugs obviously was famous for cross-dressing all the time. So instantly I took a like laser like focus like interest in what that's Bugs Bunny. And
well, that would be cool. And maybe,
what is he doing?
Maybe.
Oh wait, he's fooling that person.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's cool. You know.
And maybe maybe if I could do that, I could go inside the
He
dressing
doesn't have to live in this gender.
dressing room with sis and mom. If I became,
Well, I don't know about that.
But a child's mind does that.
Yeah, maybe. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that's what happened to me. But you know, and then conditioning socially through the medium of television. You know, there's TV shows. You know, I used to watch, like, it was like a show called HR Puffin Stuff, and you know, it was like, you know, witchy poo and turning the children into little animals or something. I mean, it was like that whole transformation thing that was going on. Speed Buggy, I was telling you an episode where, you know, they got stuck in the land of the Amazon women, and they all had to like go through this machine in order to transform themselves to rescue their friends and transform back. And, you know, it was like, you know, all of these things just feed in, you know, and then you're watching, like, you're left at home alone during the summer, and you're able to watch like The Twilight Zone, and you're able to watch, you know, The Love Boat and Three's Company and Fantasy Island and all these different, if there was anything that had to do with changing gender, I remember later on I would thumb through the TV guide, and I would look for, oh, is there an episode? Oh, look at, there's a Donahue show that is talking about certain things, transvestite or whatever at the time, you know. And I remember being really impressed by a specific episode on the Phil Donahue show when I was like maybe 9 or 10 or something. And they were interviewing transvestite children, because that's what they call them. And there wasn't a word for transgender. So transvestite children next on Donahue, you know, and it was always like totally feeding in.
Now, would you say that this is something that has been in the works and being programmed, I think as early as probably 1935 or not, whenever the TV started, because, you know, this whole thing where men turn into women, or like you said, the cartoons, and I mean, we're seeing it now with Celine Dion's No, whatever it is, you know, they're trying to place this programming in individuals, and then they're adding estrogenic compound substances that are running rapid out there, you know, feminizing men. So when you put certain feminization products or hormones into a man, it's going to create changes in their psyche.
Testosterone levels have totally
decreased.
The sperm count in the male population in the United States is totally fallen from its highs back in the 50s to, like, I think it's like half or even less than half of what it was before.
I mean, men as young as 20-something are taking Cialis and Viagra to be able to get an erection. Unheard of. I mean, Cialis and Viagra was brought from somebody in the 70s, you know, who's having problems because they, whatever, drank too much and their veins constricted and they're having all sorts of problems. But for such young age to have to be taking that, you got to, you know, something's got to happen. And also vaccines. We're the generation, I'm 6 years older than you, but I'm sure you had vaccines, you know that these vaccines, we don't know. We don't know the outcome. There's so much autism, Asperger, children nowadays that just, they're, I don't want to be judgmental, but they don't look normal. They don't act normal. It's almost like from another planet, you know, their whole dynamic is very different from when I was a kid, you know?
That's the truth.
You know, so we're looking at all this. And now what really truly upsets me is that they're planning or plotting this thing, and then there's no solution but the one solution. Oh, you're questioning your gender? We got a cure for you. Here's your blocker. Here's your hormones. When you get to be 16 now, we can lop off your chest. We could do this. We could do that. That's not a solution. There is nothing wrong with your body. Your body's fine. Your body's functional. I was fully functional. Everything in my body worked. Everything in your body worked. There was nothing wrong with our body. So why do we have to put ourselves through all these medical procedures that are going to shorten our lives? Why do we have to take hormones with the rising cancer that we have nowadays? Why are we putting stuff like that into our bodies? You know, what's the functionality? And if I was going to sit there from doing what I did and I was going to, like, get this amazing position and you know, mentor a bunch of kids and do great things in the world that I leave behind, here lay Mark Angelo / Maritza, and they did this wonderful thing. But that ain't going to be the case. What's going to happen is I'm going to destroy my liver, or God knows what diseases I'm going to get from doing what I did. You know, when I get older, what my health condition is going to be. And I'm lucky if I get anybody going to my funeral, and if they put anything nice on my tombstone, or spray my ashes in somewhere nice. You know, because it's like there's no functionality. You know, we need to find, like I was telling you when we were eating, they should, like, create A, B, C, D, E solutions, you know, and let's break down, like what we were doing today. You know, I mean, I've expressed why I think that I, you know, have this condition. You know, it's between being sexually molested, having a father who was abusive, a mother that was very abusive as well, who didn't treat me right, who, you know, a slew of stuff, you know. So these professionals need to look at things, you know, break them down, the last resort. And I think that's what this was intended for, the last resort, the ones that could not adapt to society. And that means that they couldn't get married, they couldn't have kids, they couldn't do anything, they couldn't adapt. They were like these real mere little, you know, helpless little men that look more like women than men. And then it's the last resort. You couldn't possibly go out in the world and function. We need to make you into a woman. Like John Money did when they cut, I forgot his name, the kid who made them into a girl, but he couldn't change who he was. And he eventually went back to being a man, and then he killed himself, you know? So what functionality? You know, if there was a functionality, if there was, you know, success stories and it was like a great outcome. Oh, Phil wrote something here. because we told that these surgeries are in hormone treatment will lead to better mental health, but they don't. That's the thing. They don't.
The very surgeries and the very hormones themselves lead to a deterioration in overall health, not just mental health.
Overall health, yeah. I mean, you're talking about when you mess with your endocrine system, you know, your endocrine system works in fashion where one gland helps another gland, like your thyroid and your adrenal glands, your pituitary gland, your ovaries, your testicles, you know, everything kind of works in fine attunement.
And this is what we know. I mean, we're discovering things
Yeah,
about how interwoven
yeah,
these systems are. I mean, they just discovered some other functional system in the body that they had never seen before. Remember, they named it something, I forget, not the lymphatic, but it was another system in the body that had been unknown to medical science prior.
right.
And you know, there's so much that we don't know. We are so
Pioneers,
wonderfully made, you know, that the endocrine system isn't just what, you know, regulates, you know, hormonal.
It's attached to your nervous system, to your neurological,
it's attached to your brain,
to everything.
It's attached to your spirit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everything is like so totally meshed together.
So when you start messing with things like your Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, start adding and removing and putting in toxics, synthetics, because estradiol, synthetic form, is not the same as real estrogen. You know, it mimics it, it's in the simulation. But in the long run, the body will know and it will start to break down. It will start to cause you problems. It's like trying to put diesel in a unleaded car. It ain't gonna work, you know. And the body's so resilient that you could get away with it for a few years. But when it says, I'm done here, then the systems start to fall down. And with the amount of cancer that people are getting, why would anybody want to play that kind of Russian roulette? All for what? And again, I say, if it's so worth it, okay? It's like, I see a lot of trans women, you know, they go on hormones. They've been on hormones for maybe 4 or 5 years. You look at them, they look maybe a little bit different, just a slight bit, because, hey, secondary characteristics are hard to get rid of. The 2 times that I tried to detransition, and I was born genetically a female, it was a no-go. I mean, it didn't matter if I shaved fully, if I tried wearing feminine clothes, I looked like a drag queen. I looked the way I talked, the way I moved, the way, it was not convincing. So what would be the functionality of having to live, somebody wrote me yesterday, of a life of ridicule, you know, of a life that people have to stare at you, people have to go, you know, why? I mean, that does a lot to the soul. That tears a person down. And I know a lot of trans women go, I don't care. I'm just living my truth and whatever, but what functionality? What are you going to get at the end? How rewarding is it going to be really? And as you age and get health complications, and as you age, and you're like, God, I wish I could take a look at my grandson. Gosh, I wish I could be there for, you know, my daughter's, you know, baby shower. Gosh, I wish I could, you know, then those are the things that make that scale that at one point was in favor of transition because of all that it entailed, the fun, you know, the greatness, versus the not being able to, you know, be there for the ones you love. And I think that kind of, it will play a massive, you know, cluster F in the mind. You know, it's not easy. You know, it's not an easy life, and the promises that they make us, you know, it's like they go in like a sales car man. Yeah, this car does this, does that, and the other one. You get in, you drive the car, and the car, you've been driving it for a month, and all of a sudden it starts like, oh man, this is not at all like I said. You know, it's pretty hard. And I had something else that I was thinking about, and it kind of went off track here completely. You know, it's.
We were talking about, you know, those things that are catalysts, are igniters for why we do what we do, and everybody has a different one.
Right.
But for me, a lot of influence came through social media. specifically through the internet, because back in the early days, there were these bulletin boards. It was America Online, so the chat groups and things like that. And I would be scouring the internet to find out, anything related to, transition, or, finding out if there was any people that were actually that way, or, it was like totally like fascinating to me to find out, and like when Jenna Takalova came out as Miss Canada, or was competing for Miss USA or something, and then Donald Trump kicked her out or something like that. That was a big deal. It was probably like 2010, something like that. It was just like, anytime, anything like that, as I continue to be interested in transitioning, because I was interested in transitioning at the age of 21 when my engagement went south, and I just like totally wanted just to focus on doing what I wanted to do with my life, but with the fear that I was doing the wrong thing, so I held that back. But I kept feeding that desire every time I would get on my PC, later, getting online and just reading stuff, reading transgender fiction, reading stories of transformation and transition, reading about, people who had done it and stuff. So by the time I ended up, leaving the house in 2013, I had been primed over the decades. And, to this day, I'm sure my ex would say, I hate computers. I hate them. I hate them because they're not only evil and bad, they destroyed my marriage. They destroyed my life. It was like, I was like addicted to coming home back in the early 2000s, late 2000s, sitting on the computer and, after hours, and nothing good happens after midnight. That's when evil comes out and temptations can get worse and worse. And
people may not believe that. Those that are atheists don't believe that. There are lurking dark spirits in the world, and bad things do happen. All you have to do is look around.
Well, if there's a more sinister plan for destroying the family unit in the world today, and you can't trace it back to transgender, gender issue, gender confused husbands and wives, then I don't know what else you might think might not be the worst. It might be the worst, because it does not just take you out. It takes everyone on the block, around the world that you knew.
That's how they capture everybody, through fantasies of, I'm going to read that in a second, or you could read it, through computers, through TVs. Why is it that most of the individuals in the trans community love superheroes, love sci-fi, fantasy? It's like individuals, they cannot cope with their real life, or their real life is too boring, because like I said in the restaurant, I said, if somebody said, look, I've got a pill that's going to cure your gender dysphoria, and you take this pill and you do some therapy, you're going to be cured. If you had that of a choice, or you have the choice, like, here are your hormones, and here's your letter, and go dress up and have fun, girl, which one would you think people would take? The pill to heal them? Well, that's too boring. I got to stay in my same boring life. No, I want the hormones, and I want, and all of you, be truthful. If they were to tell you your gender dysphoria will disappear, and you will not have any angst about your body, you'll love yourself unconditionally, you'll be able to live a normal, healthy life, or they said, here, have your pills and Go get them. Cut your breast off and become a man. How many of you would take the alternative of the right path? The path that will not harm you or your family, and the path that will allow you to be aligned. I mean, how many people could be truthful about that? You know? So Mama Lynx says, I'm 52, going through menopause, and spelled men, quote unquote, menopause, and I don't like my body, and I feel so wacky. I can relate to wanting hormones if I believe they would help. I don't do doctors, so I'm just living through it. And you know what? You're doing the right thing, Mama Lynx, because hormones come with a price. If it's too good to be true, then it's too good. They come with a price, especially synthetic hormones. There's a lot of things that you can do, Mama Lynx, that are natural. There's a lot of herbs out there. You know, eating a healthy diet that will prevent the hot flashes, that would prevent osteoporosis, working out, drinking lots of fluids, staying away from alcohol. There's so many things that you could do to really create a balanced hormone. And that menopause only lasts for a certain amount of time. And before you know it, it'll be a distant memory. You know? But it's people want the quick fix. People want the glamour, the glitz. But let's have fun. Let's go get all dressed up and go hang out with other trans girls and drink and have a good old time and get validation and get guys to go on your Facebook page and go, oh, honey, you're so beautiful. You know, and some of these people that you're looking at, what they're calling beautiful, you're going, oh my God, you know, it's like people that want to tell you what you want to hear to get you into bed, because unfortunately, the trans thing is a fetish, you know, and they're going to tell you what you want to hear, and you're going to accept it, and you're going to get whatever because you're looking for that validation, you know. And I think being truthful is so important, people. It's what's going to set us free. It's what's going to help us heal. It's what's going to let us understand this crazy conundrum of a world that we live in, you know. And I don't know.
And so when you, as I did, when you basically compromise your armor, you compromise your ability to fight off infection, so to say, in so many words, then you become prone to attack. You become prone to temptation, and you become prone to falling. And you know, in my life, I've done things in the last half of my life that I would never have consciously imagined myself to have done. I would never, ever have imagined to be unfaithful to my then wife at all. I would never have imagined that was possible. But because my shield was down and my defenses were not up, and my need for validation had gotten to the point where it had spiked to a level beyond control. I did things, and I said things, and I acted in ways that I would never have imagined I was capable of doing. And I think that's one of the greatest things that people are confounded by with me, because I was so goody two-shoes.
Yeah, you are. I was so out of character.
So good of a person.
You know, I see right through your heart.
So,
you know,
so like pure in intention, that a person like me could get so caught up in self-hatred, low, like, self-esteem issues.
And the Asperger, that many of us, you know, are neurological impairment.
It really is.
Yeah, it is. And would you say that the Asperger kind of like, when we get something in our heads, it's like full speed ahead, something's in the head, and you know, you're going to follow it through because now it's in there. And, you know, think of Asperger as somebody who, like a broken record, it keeps going on. And we keep, like, things keep getting ahead. And it's like, until we, like, achieve what we want to achieve, you know, it's nonstop.
And then you get yourself around people that, you know, later on in early 2013, before I completely left my home, it was like, you know, you get yourself in a situation where people are like totally validating you, and they're saying good things about you, and they're, oh honey, you should have always been a woman. Oh my gosh, there is nothing that I see manly about you, and all this stuff, you know, they say.
Those are the voices of darkness.
You're going to make a beautiful woman, you know, just, oh, let me give you, you know, there were men that were giving me like formulas for hormonal treatment. I mean, you know, it was like, it was crazy.
So Mama Ling says, definitely trying to hike more and do yoga. Yoga's great and hiking is wonderful. We love to hike in the weather. We don't like the cold weather when it's windy, so hiking in cold weather is, but we love to hike. We did a 90-day journey. If you check out our channel, Mama Link's, it's called Gypsy Blue Nomads. We literally lived out of our Prius for 90 days and went all over the United States. That was a fun adventure. But she says, thanks for sharing your stories. You both are awesome. Thank you for watching. And then Mama Lynx goes, ego on. Yeah, I mean, the ego could either play as a victim or the ego could play us as, you know, this person that thinks that, hey, we're better than and we're beautiful and we're this. And, you know, people will always tell you what you want to hear when they want something out of you. Because if they validate you, you validate them. And that's what happens. If you go online, Facebook, and you go into a group of trans women, oh my God, you know, and sometimes it's like, you know, that kind of thing. And it's like, it's like viruses spreading to each other. And it's just, it's a very disturbing thing. And, you know, instead of people telling the truth, instead of people realizing that this is not about self-stroking, that, hey, you know, we have responsibilities in this world. We may want certain things. I mean, if we all got our ways and our wishes of what we want, oh my God, you know, some people just, you know, wish they were taller. Some people wish they weighed less. Some people wish they looked prettier, they had a nicer nose. Some people wish they had $1 million. You know, there's things that but the problem in today's day and age is that people think that they can get what they want and how they want it. It's like that article I read about children wanting the now and instant gratification. And that's going to get us in a lot of trouble.
And it did. It did me, because I succumbed to lows of depravity, of unfaithfulness. I mean, I didn't cheat on my wife one time. I multiplied that cheating many times on the phone, in text conversations, exchanging pictures. I mean, encounters in the hotels. I mean, it got to the point where it was unthinkable, you know.
And that same validation, when you and I split up, led you to go on dates. And all the things. It's just that constant, I mean, that validation is a virus. That validation is a dark demon. You know, it's just like, it wants to feed itself.
Well, that's all you have to go with. When you've lost everything, when you've lost your reputation, you've lost your whole life has been a tragedy, right? Turned into a tragedy. The only thing you have left, when I left you, the only thing you had, was validation.
Yeah, that was it.
So that's what we were.
It's the game we play, you know, the whole validation system, the whole, you know, craziness. And Mama Ling says, I wish I had a partner who understands this conspiracy world. I'm all about conspiracy. I'm all about, you know, people think conspiracy are lies, but conspiracies are true, you know, and people don't even know the half of what's going on in the world. I mean, maybe I'll start messaging you, Mama Links, and talking about it, because Linda gets a little overwhelmed when I talk about all these things. So, LOL, it will happen. You guys, wait, conspiracy, LOL, it will happen. You guys give me hope. Oh, definitely. I mean, you know, the world can't stay this way. I mean, you can feel it. It's bubbling. It's just, things are about to change, and not in a bad fear faction way, because I don't believe in spreading fear, but good things. People are going to evolve. Their minds are going to open up. Things are going to change. There might be some rocky things going on, because before it gets better, it gets worse, that kind of thing. You know, Mother Earth is rebirthing. Things are going to happen to our spirit. And again, I'm not religious, but I'm super spiritual. And I believe that our true creator did not intend for us to suffer this way. The father of this world is the devil, is Satan, Mardukes. And we could see it. We could see how the world is being run. We could see how there's a special kind of hate, you know, when someone tears a family apart, a beautiful family of 5 children, okay? Perfect family that, you know, many people would love to have, and have that whole family dynamic be ripped apart. You know, that's some special kind of hate. And that's what drives me. That's what drives me to tell people, don't do this. Don't do this, because I don't want you to do the same thing to your kids. You know, because it's not just that generation that's going to suffer, but the next generation, the grandkids and the great grandkids. You know, it's a hard thing to carry. And all for what? For what functionality? And you and I were fortunate enough to have each other. But how many people, as we're sitting here today, are alone? You go to every Facebook page of a trans woman or a trans guy, and what's the famous line that they all have?
Single.
Single. And they continue to have depression, anxiety. Some drop-dead, gorgeous, young trans women that you would think, you're depressed and anxious? Why? You're living the dream. But no, they're still depressed and anxious, and have no flavor for life, and doesn't get out of bed, and has knots in the hair that they had to cut their hair. I mean, so I look at that and I go, gosh, so is it worth it? No. So Mama Ling says, nice, it makes me feel empowered. Glad that we're able to make you feel empowered, Mama Ling. So yeah, it's sad. It's a sad situation. Isn't there a song about it? It's a sad situation, something like that. But, and, you know, a lot of people don't understand why they call me the anti-trans tranny or something like that. And a lot of transgender people can't stand me. But you know what? I need to speak my mind. I need to be that other voice. I need to help bring some hope. I need to help bring some balance to this unbalanced, crazy world. And if that means that you know, and then we've actually gotten a few people not to transition. What was his name? Jonas. He was from the Netherlands, I think. He was on the verge of transitioning, and he didn't. And I think there's been several people.
What's his name? Singer? The young guy?
Singer, young guy.
His beautiful voice, had long, gorgeous hair, cut it off.
Oh, yes. I forgot his name. But yeah, he didn't transition either. There's been a lot of people that we've helped that were on the fence that, you know, haven't done it. And I hope there'll be many more, you know, and I hope that people start to love themselves as they are, because these things aren't real. You can't take this with you when you go, but you're going to leave behind a world of hurt, a world of hurt. And, you know, it's there's no functionality. There's nothing really true and beautiful about it, you know. It's rough, but I think we've kind of, did we talk about everything that we said in the restaurant, the reasons, all the, if you had to say something, someone, if you could speak to your younger self, you know, what would you say to your younger self, first of all? That's one of my questions.
Oh gosh, that's
Is that too much pressure?
It's one of those.
If it's too much pressure, I won't make you do it.
It's a question that I really can't answer.
You can't answer. How about what would you tell, let's say, parents out there that are dealing with children who are gender confused, you know, what would you tell those parents?
Well, I would tell them to embrace their children, love their children, but don't compromise your parenting for what they perceive themselves to be. Allow yourself to lovingly guide and encourage and correct your children into understanding that their body is beautiful the way it was made, and that as long as they live with you, that you wouldn't participate in any kind of hormonal changes. You wouldn't be on board with, allowing them to make themselves a compromised human, because those types of treatments are going to make them infertile and incapable of having a future, and leaving a legacy behind.
And the true heroes are the ones that battle it out, that go against all odds, no matter how different you are, no matter, how bullied you are, you stay steadfast who you are. So, realize that God doesn't make mistakes. You brought to this world a healthy baby boy or baby girl. They may have some gender confusion because we have a world that's filled with chemicals. We have a world that's so much technology that affects the nervous system. So this world does create a lot of differences in individuals, but these differences do not have to be fixed by changing your gender marker and going from one gender to another. The true heroism on this is to learn how to love yourself unconditionally. Teach your child to love themselves unconditionally. That they're perfect the way they are. They don't have to do anything to change themselves. And for the adults out there, you're adults, you do what you want, and no one, and my wife has no one to tell you what to do, but think long and hard and realize, kind of put your 10-year plan, 15-year plan, 20-year plan, 30-year plan, 40-year plan. Where do you see yourself 40 years from now? What do you think that by you doing what you're doing is going to make your future any better? If you weren't allowed to express yourself in women's clothing, okay, and the rule was, okay, you want to, be the gender that you are, but you can't dress. You can't, it's going to be boring. So here's a pill to heal you, but you can live, we give you a paper that says that you are living as a woman, but you are not allowed, you pretty much have to wear a uniform that says some sort of like khakis or whatever. Are you still going to want, or is it all about the excitement, the expression of, being able to wear pretty things? And, these are the things that you as an individual need to really, and truly sit there and be truthful with yourself. Truly truthful. Not going, oh, I don't think about that. Really sit with that thought. And then say, well, yeah, I feel like and I don't care what I wear, because clothing does not make a woman not, or a woman is, or whatever way. It's not about clothing. There's so much functionality that we as humans have in the assigned sex that we're born in. So when you really sit with that and really be truthful, because gosh, there's nothing more beautiful than, and it may hurt, and it may not feel good, and it may trigger, but there's nothing more beautiful than sitting with one's truth and sitting and really, because that's love. That's love for self, and that's love. Sometimes I hate when we can't like really dig in and be truthful. And I'm liking that we're getting there. We are doing so much better. But, truth, there's nothing more beautiful and more real than that. That's like being in the presence and the love of our Father, because that's what God is, pure love and pure truth. And if you're able to sit with that without any type of, distraction, any type of, how demons like to, hey, like I remember when we went to that CNN Spanish thing when we were detransitioning, and the guy, I swear, the devil came in and sat there doing the show. Wouldn't you want to wear a dress instead of being in that shirt? And how about you, Mert? So wouldn't you want to have your beard back? It's like, oh God, okay, we just had the demon take over the host. It's like, be real, be in the presence of, whether you're religious or not, whether you believe in God or not, in the presence of your higher self, in the presence of the real you. Don't let thoughts come in that are going to interfere. And really do some soul searching. Nice, it makes me feel empowered. Can't regret that one.
I mean, if you know as a parent that doing what you want to do is going to basically destroy the lives of everyone else around you, I would caution you to really think hard about what you're going to do. Because you're going to be convinced that you're doing the right thing. You're going to be convinced that you needed to do it. You're going to be convinced, and everybody's going to be on your side. Everybody's going to tell you that what you want to hear. But the truth is that destroying a family is never a good option. And it doesn't matter if it happens through an extramarital affair or through transition. It's never a good thing. And it always leads to pain, always leads to confusion, always leads to innocence lost. I mean, I look at pictures of my children, now older. I don't have any pictures of now as they got older. But there was such an innocence to those faces. There was this gleam, this brightness, this joy, this laughter, this happiness that I know they don't have anymore. And I know that I'm alone responsible for them not living in that kind of joy. That I would be so selfish in my own estimation to have done what I did in basically destroying their innocent, beautiful, wholesome reality of family, of having a mom and a dad, and Christmases and Thanksgivings and 4th of Julys and all birthdays and and family reunions, get-togethers and times away and vacations
and being looked up
wonderful
upon,
things, all these wonderful things, and having that kind of legacy, a legacy of purity, a legacy of wholeness, a legacy that you are proud of. But no, instead, I am a real life tragedy. And I can I can see my name, my face on a definition in the dictionary, that is under the headline tragedy or tragic life. And
the sad thing is that, people say they're doing this for their mental health, they're doing this to be happy. But in reality is the mental health never improves. They get a little bit of reprieve. It's almost like a placebo effect when they first start hormones and whatever else, but then you see the same behavior. The depression gets worse, as we saw with, what's her name, Carolina, 4 years into her transition, and they can't even get out of bed. And that's not one trans woman. I know many trans women who have difficulties getting out of bed, dealing with life. And but why? Wait a minute, you did all you did. Why? Because it doesn't solve it. If you're doing what you're doing and you're not providing that happiness that you thought you were going to get, you end up not even being happy. And then not only are you not happy, but then you created unhappiness for other people too. So now everybody's unhappy. No one's happy. And as far as the mental health, as Phil said, you know, we're promised that this is going to like solve our problems. You know, we've got your solution. Put you on these little pills, you know, little knobby boobies growing, and you know, you're not going to get maybe as much facial hair, and your skin's going to be a little soft. You know, there's only so much that hormones could do, you know. And then people go and break their face, you know, and start doing more things. Now they all start looking the same. And then that surgery doesn't last because then it starts to droop and it starts to, you know, and then they start getting health issues because now you're messing with your body. You get all sorts of infection. You might get leukemia because, you know, all sorts of blood disorders, cancers. So now you're like, yeah, I did this to have better mental health. But God, I'm in the doctor's office all the time. I'm sick. I'm dying. I don't feel good. Your life gets shortened by 30, 40 years. So what's the functionality, folks? I should have titled this video, what's the functionality? Because it's transcendence, because there is none that I could think of. You know, it's a temporary high, like an FTM, Aiden, whatever his name is, just had a baby, or not him, his partner, wife, whatever, had a baby, and they're freaking out already, okay? Because there's one of the things I've learned with trans people, very little frustration tolerance, very little coping skills. So it's like, so you bring this child into this world to fit your little reality of, I'm daddy, you know? But then you can't even handle the child because the child triggers you, because the screaming bothers you, because you don't have any, you know, patience at all to handle it. If you don't even have the patience to handle yourself or the coping skills to deal with you, what makes you think you have the coping skills to handle a child? Yeah.
And, you know, the guy saw the picture, it's like this pose of him, like unshirted or, you know, whatever. And then he's cradling the child with his hand, but not in a good way. It's like he's crushing the little kid's neck.
I'm gonna try to find the picture
it's
here.
Like,
yeah,
it's crazy, you know, because it's like he's like frustrated. Yeah. And it's like babies cry. That's what they do. That's how they communicate. That is what is baby language. You know, I'm wet, cry. I'm hungry, cry. I don't feel good, cry. I have, you know, I mean, multiple things. I've got poop in my.
I'm colicky, you know, and probably have a colicky baby. I mean,
it's like, it is what it is,
yeah.
You know, and, you know, Mark's right. If you are a trans person and you can't even deal with your own self, what the hell are you doing?
Bringing children to this world. I mean, it's crazy.
Absolutely no sense whatsoever. And if anyone is having a child just so that they can validate it as the sex that they want to be seen as, shame on you. Because that is in itself one of the most selfish acts that anyone can possibly do, is to try to bring about a life for your own purposes.
Yeah. So let me open this up. There it is, you know. Notice the fingers around the jaw neckline, you know, and
I just don't see love in that picture.
No, I just see an individual who totally is in it for, I mean, Aiden's been trying to be in the limelight for the longest time now. You know, Men's Magazine is, he's all about himself. And that is another common theme in the transgender community, FTM, MTF alike. They all want to be models. They all want to be recognized, because it's not just about being
movie star.
Yeah, it's not about just being the gender that you say you are. It's about the validation, not validation of your family members, a couple of friends. You know, lights, camera, action. So, you know, has any thought for 1 second that is exposing that child as he tries to gain fame and fortune and uses a child as a pawn, that he's placing that child in danger? Has he ever even thought of that?
I don't think so, because
No.
he's not thinking about the.
He's not. He's only thinking about Aiden's. I mean, who takes the picture with the child with no shirt and this whole? I mean, it's like it's all a production. Lights, camera, action, transgender. You know, the individuals that are in light. It's all a movie production.
Oh no, everything is driven by the hashtag. Because I mean, if you look at that picture, I bet you there's a million hashtags describing
We're gonna
what it is that he's espousing. It's like hashtag LGBT family, hashtag advertising his business.
look at all those hashtags. And then Antler and I, he names his child Antler, and I are over here working on our roar because he has this thing with the lions.
Of course, he has to like promote his business.
Right. The ups and downs of emotions are hashtag real when becoming a parent. The wave of frustration to bliss, to frustration, to gratitude. It's tiring. What's TBH mean?
To be honest.
To be honest, okay. But it's also just the beginning of the lessons this little one is going to teach me. And then you got all these hashtags, all these things. And, I don't know. I think that I didn't find it right. It rubbed me the wrong way. That's why I had to share it. That's why I had to talk about it. People are using kids for their own satisfaction. So you see a lot of trans guys that are getting pregnant. They hate their women body, but they're using their women body to bring life into this world. I have not always been such a goody two-shoe. I've had my share in life, from drug abuse to alcohol abuse, food disorders. I dated a lot of people. I'm not proud of a lot of things that I've done. I have forgiven myself for what I've done, and now I'll lead a different life altogether. And if, I don't mean to rub people the wrong way, but if your soul, your spirit is not being protected and you're not working on those two things, your spirit and your soul, and the soul is like a body, our spirit is like more of an individual type of thing, but every spirit has connection to the soul, which is the main. We're all connected, and we all need to work together for the betterment of the future, of the consciousness of humanity. So when people tell me, what business is it of yours? We're all interconnected. We all affect one another, whether we like it or not. What I do affects you. What you do affects me. What we do affects others. And it's a lesson that we need to learn as human beings. And a lot of us will go kicking and screaming because we don't want to hear it. We don't want to see it. It's too hurtful. It's too painful. But we have to. We have to, folks. We don't have a choice. Anyway, I think we've rambled more than enough, but thank you all. Yeah. I like to be real. It's important to be real. I mean, it's so healing. As I sit here and pour my heart out to all of you, and some of you might think of it as ranting, as being hurtful, as being whatever, I'm pouring my heart, my love, my everything out into these talks. And I want nothing more than for all of you to heal. I want nothing more than for your pain to go away. I love you.
It's the burden I have to bear.
I love you more than you ever know. But it's not a burden that you have to bear. It's something that you have to work through.
It's something to bear it.
Yeah, you have to work through it too. And heal. Heal.
There will never
no
be
one's
a moment.
Responsible for that healing but you. I could try to help you. God is, will always be there by your side, but you've got to put the effort too. You've got to want to heal.
Of course.
And you make great progress,
Well, there's a place where you get to and you understand that things weren't exactly how you imagined that they were. Like I can see, stupid things that were said. I just remember, trying to get the approval of people who had known me for years. Mm-hmm. And I'd go, yeah, my body's not the same. I'm taking estrogen. I'm looking so different these days. What do you think? I was like, I'm so cocky. I think, what do you think? you know, and it's like, you still look like Paul. You have the same calves, you know, and it was like, you know, you get so caught up. You get so caught up in it. And then in the meanwhile, there's 5 kids sitting at home, and daddy's gone and hasn't been home since November, you know. And it's like, the truth is, that is what happened, you know.
And then you get
there playing and hoping and trying to get people to see things my way.
Yeah, and then feeding off, you know, of the people that tell you what you want to hear. Tell me more, tell me more. How beautiful am I? Tell me more. Oh, come on. You know, and the people that are like, you've got to live your life, honey. Forget those kids, or forget this, that, and the other.
You'll come around.
You've got to be happy. And meanwhile, these are people that are giving you advice that are just as miserable, if not more miserable than you.
In the meanwhile, there's a little girl who is crying her eyes out by her bedside, begging God to bring daddy home.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the reality that you're destroying when you decide that it's time for you to transition after having a family.
Yeah.
You know.
That's why when I wrote what I wrote on my thing today, no kids, no people after a certain way already have a life established. I said, all you trans or gender specialists, you've got to like somehow rechange this paperwork and realize the harm that you're doing. It's on you. It's on the hands of you who provide those letters and get people to go heads that have families. Did you even bother to bring the wife in? Did you even bother to bring those kids in and see how they feel about their dad doing what he's doing? No, none of you do, because it's all about your money, your collection. Oh, make sure that insurance go through. And it's like, oh, wow, it's been an hour already. Well, see you next week. And what do you know about gender dysphoria when that hasn't even been around for no longer than, what, 20, 25 years of terminology? What do you know about the suffering of people's life when, you know, their family unit gets torn apart? It's, you know, they should be held accountable.
They really should be. I mean, it shouldn't just be there to validate the existence of people who want to be validated, you know.
One person's validation and how many people's devastation. You got to look at that. What are the odds here? You've got one person's validation. One person is going to be what they believe is happy, because I spoke a little earlier about what that happiness really was, versus, let's see, let's count. There's 6, and then there's 7, 8, 9. Let's say 20 people between friends and family that are devastated from one person's validation. Somehow the math just is really off. It's really off. And
it's like, you know, the fires that went through Paradise, California recently that leveled the town and destroyed everyone. Everyone's home, and there's like 1,000 missing people. I mean, tragedy beyond tragedy of tragedy. This is no different. This is no different. It's no different. Because the devastation that's left behind when a family loses the head of their household, a person who's been charged with being responsible for providing for them, for protecting them, for taking care of them, is taken away from that family unit. It is absolutely devastating and destructive beyond anything that a fire can do.
And even for those that you managed to convince your family to go along with this, and you know they're showing their support, do you think deep down inside that they don't wish they had normalcy back, that they had their father back? Or do you think that every time they bring over a friend to the house, they have to deal with the embarrassment that Yeah, I used to be my dad. Now he's so and so. You know. Do you think that grandkids coming into that picture, future boyfriend, girlfriend of your son or daughter, future husband, wife of your son and daughter, and their family, do you think they're going to really want any association with the family? And like, oh, wow, you know, this is tough. Does it mean that maybe our grandkids are going to be that way too? I mean, it's a dynamic that's, you know, really tough, really tough. And these are things that most people don't think about because they're just thinking about, I don't really want the cure because they're going to gender specialists. They're not going in there and go, please cure me. You know, it's please give me the letter so I can take my hormones and start wearing dresses and change my label on my license, because that's what they want. You know, they don't want the pill or the therapy to work through the pain so that we could work through your childhood issues so that you don't feel that you're born wrong, so you don't have such self-hatred. And they don't want that solution. They want the quick fix, which is not really a fix. It's just a Band-Aid, you know. But that Band-Aid for you is, himashima for the rest of the family.
It's a noose around the family.
Yeah. You know,
I, to this day, don't know the degree of devastation that I caused to my family. I may never know, but I do know that it's real. I do know that each year that I see and am able to assess what I did, that there is lots to answer for. Lots to answer for. So,
you know, and nobody sees it but me, because I see you going through your emails. I see your face. I feel you because I'm very connected to you. Everything that you feel, I already know before you feel it. And it's like, we're that connected. And, you know, it's not easy. It's not easy, and it will probably never get easy. And I think it eventually, as we get older, the regrets get louder, you know, and as no longer the stuff that keep you, you know, entertained, keep you from thinking so much about it, you know, the mirror isn't as convincing as we get older, and things, I would assume, would get a lot harder, you know. It has to, because right now, you know, when you, like I said, you want the pill, or do you want the pill to fix you, or do you want the hormones and the ability to wear dresses and go out? But if, you know, they told you can't wear the dresses, you could say you feel like a woman and you could act away, whatever, but you can't wear women, you know, what would it be? You know, and these are things that people have to really, before you even transition, before you do whatever it is that you do, you need to sit with that. And I wish gender specialists would do that. I wish gender specialists would be real with people. But they're so afraid to be ex-nate. Oh, you can't go to that therapist because they're not going to give you a letter. And they like 8-ball.
it's not even a letter.
Yeah,
the gates are down, and inmates are able to break out.
Yeah. And then that also leads for us to realize that this is terribly, or is really an agenda. When they just went, oh, anybody and anybody could say there whatever they want to say.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just.
But realize that, you know, I'm going to have to face the fact that when I'm 65, I'll have many grandchildren from the 5 children that I brought to this earth. And I have a good chance of never ever meeting one of them. And the sense of how that will impact me, to realize that I wasn't there for my daughter's wedding. I wasn't there when, you know, my son told me he was going to get engaged. I mean, I wasn't there when my, you know, friend of mine, he had texted or emailed me and said back in 2015 that he was at a Christian university and my kids were homeschooled. So they went to compete at this university, my oldest son's basketball team. And there they were, and he saw that homeschool was participating in the game. And he went and sat down by my ex and stuff and the other kids. And they pulled out a nail biter of a win, went into overtime. My son had something to do with handing out a ball to the guy who scored, and it was like, whoa, right?
Mhm.
Everybody was so excited. It was like the most awesome thing. And my friend just looked at himself and he was crying. He said, in the stand, he was like, where's their dad? Where's their dad? And moments like these are moments and memories that one makes. Family. And where were you? Where were you? You know, and it's true, you know.
So that's why I say, is it really worth it? It's like people that have food addiction, you know, they're like, they love cheesecake, they love chocolate, they love to eat. And the moment you're getting that pleasure, you're like munching away and you're eating it. You're embracing the yumminess of the food. And you're done eating and you're full. You look at your stomach, and you've been trying to want to lose weight, but the love of food drives you to continue eating. And then that love of food gave you heart disease, diabetes, and all that stuff. Was that love of food and engaging in that food worth it? You know? It's pretty much the way I look at it.
And then, you know, you and I marrying, it was like the final dagger in the coffin. You know, it's like, you know, wait a minute. So now I got married, person who used to be a woman, and now it's a man. My dad's a man. Now the man's a woman. How does that work, and how does that figure into what I want to ever have in my life? You know, and I can't imagine what my kids would think. Like, okay, so how does this work? How does this? You know, it's like it's so. It is so foreign.
Yeah.
It is so alien to most of society, and the realities are just not good. Just not good.
No.
The outcomes are not good. You know, it makes you go, gee, if you wanted to go back, I mean, my God, you know, you would feel that way. You know, and it's like, you know, it's like you feel bad. You feel bad because you didn't participate in the destruction of my family.
I was only an innocent bystander that actually came along, you know,
as a good Samaritan
to try to help you when you had that accident. You know, I could have said, hey, wow, sorry about that. Oh, I hope you feel better. You know, never made it. It's like, oh, well, they never made it here. You know, but instead, you know, I went and I asked, do you want me to stay? You said yes, and I haven't left your side ever since. Well, except for the fact when we had the 2 months of separation. But other than that, I've never left your side, and I help try to heal you. I've taught you how to eat well. I've tried to help you face your emotions. You know, I've tried to help you grow as an individual. You know, and has it been easy for me? Do you think it has been easy for me? It hasn't. It hasn't. But here I am, and that's proof of unconditional love. Unconditional love all the way. And that same unconditional love that I have for every one of you out there that are watching, that I know may hate me, you know, realize that I don't hate you. I love you. I love you, and I want the best for you. You know, as I want the best for me, as I want the best for you, as, you know, I want the best for humanity, because we're all in it together. You know, there's no us against them. Big old meteor comes and blows the planet, we're all going to feel it. You know, we're going to need each other if we do survive to be able to survive. And maybe that's what this planet needs. It's some horrific destruction that'll let us realize how much alike we are, that we are different. It'll make us see things that really matter, not the subsequential things that we're making such big things about. Yeah. On that note, I think we'll end it. Wait, somebody came in. 2 genders. What about 2 genders?
Yep, you're right.
Yeah. But what do they mean by two genders? I mean, that's like an empty sentence, two genders. I'm not quite sure what you were trying to say, super hype, but well, if you want to write, yes, sup. Okay, I think it's one of those trolls. Well, we're doing good, thank you. How about yourself? We're just getting ready to call it good night. We've been on for quite a while. So if you want to catch the show, rewind and dine. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back Tuesday for Real Talk with the Cummings. Today was just a bonus video that I think probably helped a lot of people because it was real, and that's what it's all about, being real, being honest, and being in love. Love you guys. But remember to always love yourselves too. Good night and be well.